few weeks back, a friend messaged me and said, I've been noticing, your Instagram. Is everything okay? And I think she felt because I was putting on these motivational quotes, there was some big moment going on in my life. And I was like, oh, sorry, no, I'm not one to use kind of discreet messaging through social media. I think. No.
Power to Live More with Jo Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello. My name is Ellie Dodds and I am co-presenter, and today Jo is interviewing Loly. Liz and Jo met through a company where they are both associate trainers helping to change the face of digital knowledge in the UK. After many years of switching between education and communications, Liz has found an ideal combination as a freelance communications and education consultant. She is fortunate to work with clients with a similar ethos to hers on a range of projects, often linked to dyslexia, a personal and professional passion of hers. As of September, she's also going to squeeze in a few hours of PE teaching each week. Back to the studio.
Today I'm interviewing Liz Loly, communications and education consultant. Welcome, Liz. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, Jo. It's great to be here after hearing lots of your other podcasts with amazing and interesting people.
Yeah, it's great to get people who come on who've actually listened. It's not always the case.
Well, a little bit for them, to be honest.
So you know what you've let yourself in for. And I'm coming live from my caravan in Scotland in the middle of nowhere, and I was saying to you it's been a bit windy and it has rained, but it's gone all sunny again now, so I'm hoping that there won't be the sound of rain drumming on the roof, but it is a tad windy, but we'll see how we get on.
That's a great illustration of the perfect work-life balance, I think.
Yeah, this is my living more.
Yeah.
So lovely. So start by telling us a bit about who you are, what you do and where you do it.
So I am a freelance communications and education consultant. I've got a background in teaching, and then thanks to the London 2012 Olympics, I got involved with communication and took qualifications in that as well. And since then, I've kind of done a little bit of communication, a little bit of education, sometimes a bit of both, sometimes one or the other. And finally, last October, decided it was time to go freelance and combine the two as much as possible. And I kind of can't live without either of them, really. So I love the buzz of the communications work and I love the education side of things. So that's what I'm currently doing, working for a number of different clients.
Lovely. And where do you do it?
I am based in Torquay in Devon, which probably even 10 years ago when I first moved back down here, I couldn't have done what I'm doing now. But because so much more is done remotely, I work with people, in fact, all over the world, and it's not a problem because of the amazing world of technology now.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you work from home?
I do. Majority of the time, yeah, I work from home.
And do you have an office? Are you a sofa surfer or are you a kitchen table person?
An office is a little bit bigging it up. It's the dining room, but I have an area of it and have made it a really little pretty corner. So yeah, I do have an office, but it also doubles up as a dining room when needed for bigger occasions.
When people actually have to eat.
Christmas time. I mean, we have a table in our kitchen as well, so most of the time we're in the kitchen. But for things like Christmas and stuff, we're in the dining room, and it does often feel a little bit surreal at those moments where I look around and go, "Oh, I'm having Christmas dinner in my office." It is a little bit odd, but it works.
Lovely. So you've talked about the fact that your business life has sort of changed over the years and you've sort of amalgamated things. Tell us a bit more about sort of why you've done that, how that's come about, because we talk on this podcast quite a lot about how people sort of work their way through to doing something that they really want to do, that really suits their sort of style and personality, and clearly you've just said already, you're doing two things that people don't always do together, but it works for you. So tell us more about that and why you do both of those things.
Yeah, sure. I seem to have a built-in need to improve things for people, or feel like I'm improving things. So with what I'm doing now, I just love being able to influence the agenda on things that I feel passionate about. So I particularly work on around dyslexia, and my big passion there is to make sure that all dyslexics have the potential to reach their full potential. And then one of my other big passions is ensuring everyone has a growth mindset. So the sort of work I do as a trainer with adults, I want everyone to believe that they can achieve, and if they can't do something, it's just that they can't do it yet. It's not impossible. So I love the combination of working within education, training, communications, and being able to feel like I'm really changing things and helping people. And the key for me is that I can choose who I work with, and my clients are all ones who I feel have very similar values to me in terms of wanting to help people, and being very genuinely there to help, as opposed to just making money. And I think that's one of my biggest advantages of being freelance, is that I feel like I've got that power to choose who I work with and for, and that is amazing.
And it's something I think that often we end up doing, we end up working for ourselves and doing the thing that we want to do as we get older, because we sort of done the things we didn't want to do in the past.
Yes, and try to conform and try to go along with other people's viewpoints, and you get to a point where you think, actually, no, I know what I believe, I know what I want, I'll do it my way, working alongside others with similar values.
So tell us about what your days look like, because you're doing quite different things with sort of different people, and as you say, working globally, but from Devon. what does that actually look like in real life?
Every day is completely different, which is part of the appeal to me. I do like things to be varied. I am very much a night owl and not a early morning person. So generally my days start a bit later. I wake up early with the kids, they go off to school, I go back to sleep for a while, and then my day will start 9:30.
Lovely. You're one of me, you're one of my gang.
Yeah, it suits me so well. It's amazing. And my mind works really well in the evenings. So I'll get on to what I do in the evenings, which again works really well with working globally. But during the day, a lot of my work is via social media, to share messages, promote events, get new contacts, etc. So constantly throughout the day, I'm checking into social media notifications. One of the companies I work regularly with has a touch typing program that particularly helps people with dyslexia. Now, they're a global company, and I make phone calls to schools that are interested in it and explain how to use it and support them. So that happens at various times throughout the day, depending on what country I'm phoning, which is one of the things I often do late at night. It works really well to phone Australia at 10 o'clock in the evening. So just as they're about to start their next day and I'm about to go to bed, we have a conversation. Those sort of phone calls happen throughout the day, and emails on that. I will then, other projects I'm working on, writing tasks and things, I'll set a couple of hours aside to say, right, now switch off from all notifications, which I find incredibly difficult and have to be really strict with myself about, and have a couple of hours focused on a specific project. I sometimes am going out to deliver training in schools. I have a weekly webinar as one of my training roles. So yeah, every day is completely different, but every day is very busy, which is just how I like it.
Yeah, sounds like it is. So how do you manage all those things? You've talked about sort of carving out chunks of time. Do you have a particular tool or app or a particular way of managing all those quite varied responsibilities at also different times of the day, as you say?
Yeah, and I have to write everything down. When I say write, very little now I actually write. It's mostly typed. Otherwise, I can't relax because I think I'm going to forget something. So I rely heavily on technology, the use of flagging emails if I need to come back to them, post-it notes on my computer as part of the computer, not paper post-it notes. I tend to schedule different events, different tasks for different days in advance. Now, sometimes, inevitably, extra things crop up and some things have to move around. So I do a lot of shifting things around in my diary, but I always have it scheduled in my electronic diary as to, okay, I'm going to be working on that then. And then the things that can't be moved because they've got a deadline for a client stay there. The things that I know can be moved, move around if other things crop up. But yeah, definitely I really rely on technology and keeping everything organized that way.
You sound more like me than the majority of my guests who talk about using paper and pen a lot, and I always go, oh no, it's all on the computer for me.
Yes, I've noticed that on the podcasts I've listened to, and in some ways I feel a little bit jealous of them because it sounds quite I don't know, it's quite romantic almost to be having these like paper journals and everything else, but it's just not me. Maybe because my writing is horrendously messy. Maybe why I have to rely on technology.
Yeah, well, the times I have to write now, I think it's probably a vicious circle, though, isn't it? That the times I have to actually write now are I write so badly that it gets worse and worse, and so I don't do it, and then I don't practice. In fact, thinking about it, one of my work friends, a lady called Judith Morgan, I mentioned her on the podcast before, she actually set a project for herself earlier this year where she was writing on a regular basis. She bought, nice pens and paper and everything because she felt that her writing was getting so awful because she wasn't doing it very often. So she actually sort of started writing, I think she was copying out poems as a way of practicing her writing, and she said it did improve quite a lot as a result of it. So I guess that's why ours gets worse and worse, because we're not doing that.
Yeah, well, it's even things like the strength in your wrist, isn't it? I find if I've written for a while, my hand, my wrist is aching because I'm just not used to doing it. And one thing I do is when I do write, I always have the friction rub out pens, because my writing's such a mess and I tend to scribble and rush. I can always go back and rub it out and rewrite it. And I got into that when I was working as a teacher and marking lots of books, and you almost go onto autopilot and then you suddenly realise you've put the wrong name on the wrong book or whatever it might be. I find them absolutely amazing. So any writing I do is done with my colourful friction pens that I can rub out and rewrite.
As you say, it must be a teacher thing, because I didn't know that they existed until my friend introduced them to me, and she is also a teacher, so it must be a teacher thing.
I think it is, because I think it's all that marking where you do just however much you're trying to personalise everything and you are thinking about the individual child, your brain goes when it gets to sort of 11 o'clock at night and you're on your 25th book of the same thing. I got into it initially through the world of dyslexia, because it's a great tool for dyslexics, and tried to encourage my son to use it. He actually wasn't very bothered by these pens, although does use them again now. My daughter and I became obsessed with them. So they have lots of good uses.
Yes, you see, we still do have stationery, whatever the words are, addictions, just not paper. Yeah. It's like I always read, one of the newsletters I always read on my email is from, I can't even remember the name of the company now. They're a pen company. Panorama, are they called? I think they might be called Panorama.
Right.
I can't even remember the company's name. But I literally, I quite often flick through all my emails and don't read a lot of them. I just sort of delete them and think, that didn't look very interesting. But I always read theirs, even if I'm not going to buy any pens, just because I just really like reading what they write.
Oh, brilliant. Do you know what? If I'm not called Panorama, that would be a good name for a pen company. So, if anyone wants to diversify, that might be a good option.
Exactly. I'm going to have to look it up now, aren't I, to see if... it is. It's called Panorama, the Cult Pens newsletter. So, yeah, it is. It's about, it's about people like me who just don't even buy anything half the time. We just read about them.
Brilliant.
Funny. So so more on the tech and the sort of preferred tools front then. What would you recommend? What do you use that our listeners might be interested in?
Yeah, one of the tools that I've started using just in the last 6 months or so, and now couldn't live without, is something called MindMeister, which is a mind mapping tool online. And actually, I organised my thoughts for this podcast by using MindMeister. I just find that whole, and it's something again that I recommended to students for years and years, using mind maps to gather their thoughts, but never did it myself. And that kind of, when you've got to write something and you have that blank moment of where do I start, and by just putting it into a mind map, and you have your sort of key title in the middle, and then you have stems coming off of it, my ideas flow so quickly, it's amazing. So I'm a big fan of MindMeister. I also use that on my weekly webinars that I run to present to everybody on the webinar, to show what the agenda is, because there's also a tool where you can present it to others. So that's my number one fairly new tool or app that I rely on.
I think that's been recommended before, so that's a good one.
That's good. Now, I know I was meant to choose a top 3, and so my second one was going to be one of the social media platforms, but I decided I couldn't decide between them, so I'm going to be cheeky and throw them all in together. I rely heavily on social media for the communication side of it, and I use it on a personal and professional level. But hopefully I'm being truthful in saying that I think most of my hours on social media is actually for professional use, and the contacts that I make and the way I can communicate key messages across to people. So yeah, I couldn't live without social media now, although some of my friends feel complete opposite about it. So we have quite interesting discussions around the pros and cons of social media.
Yes, yeah. I'm a bit like that. Having been a social media marketing consultant in the early days, I then went, I was always quite a quiet one. I wasn't that bothered about sharing what I had for breakfast and such like. But I then went really anti it, and I use it quite a lot for communicating with people now, and I share things that I read. But it's interesting that I keep seeing my memories on Facebook, and I think, oh my God, I did actually used to share stuff on there about what I was doing in my life, but I don't do that now. I've gone so into it.
Switch a lot, but actually, it genuinely is a lot more on a professional level now, my social media use. And I used to have all my social media channels as private because they were personal. I would talk about what I'd done that day. I hope I never went as far as to say this is my breakfast, but you never know. Whereas the only one that I now have privately is Facebook, and all the others I've opened up to be public. And Twitter I very much use for the education and dyslexia side of things. Instagram I use for motivational quotes, and then LinkedIn obviously I use professionally. So yeah, I've switched actually as to how I use it over time.
Yes, yeah. So that was tool number 2. And that, if I was on Desert Island Discs, I'd be saying, oh, I don't know if I can allow you to have all of them in one go, but I'm nice, I'll let you.
I thought you would be. I thought I could get away with it. Yeah. So number 3, and when I was thinking about this, I use so many apps and tools. There were all sorts I could put in, but the one that I've chosen is one that is so important to me to be able to switch off. I'm a massive Word games fan, and I have the Scrabble Go app, and I think it helps my mental well-being so much and stops me from purely using everything to work and to actually have a bit of downtime.
I don't think that's been mentioned before either, and I'm thinking little Doddsy might be interested in that. She's a bit of a Scrabble fan.
Oh yeah, it is great, and you can play the traditional Scrabble as well as very quick games, which suits my mind really well. So yeah, absolutely. There are so many different word games, and I've probably used most of them. And after so many months of being completely addicted to them, I tend to then move on to another one. But currently, it's Scrabble Go.
Yes, yeah. That sounds good. Thank you. So very different apps, and yeah, good list, I would suggest.
Great.
So, what about working with other people? Do you have anyone that you get to help in your business or even in your personal life to make sure that you get everything done that you need to do, or are you very much a one woman band?
Yeah, it's very much me for the overall concept, but then on different areas of the work I do, I have people I link with and regularly connect with, share ideas, move projects forward with the companies that I work with as they're my clients. As I say, I've chosen companies who I really believe in their values. And one great example actually was yesterday. One of the companies that I work with closely had sent me some extra information about something and put a little message at the end saying, I want to make sure you're happy because it's really important to us that you're happy. And I thought that if I needed clarification that I'm doing the right thing by being freelance and choosing who I work with, that was it.
Yes.
So yeah, kind of me on my own. But in each different area of my work, I have people who are really key to me to kind of discuss things with and move forward.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it, to get to know that you've got those sort of working relationships that you wanted, rather than having them because you sort of feel like you have to have them because it's what brings the money in. To get to that stage where you're able to make those choices and then know that they were the right choices is just such a good place to be, I think, as a a consultant or a coach.
Definitely. And I think going back however many years, I would have probably said, oh no, I don't need other people, I don't need, I'm better on my own, it's fine. Whereas now I can see it's so crucial to have that support system. And I would always try and support other people, but I wouldn't necessarily want others to support me in my work. And now I'm like, yes, come on, let's work together on this, let's collaborate, let's support each other. And it's really beneficial.
Yes, yeah. It's a bit like me in outsourcing. I've known that it's something I should be doing for a long time, and then eventually I did some outsourcing with one of my assistants, and it was such a sort of relief to hand some stuff off that was weekly repetitive work that I didn't want to do. But it still took me another good while to get my other VA organised, and I still, even now, I've got loads of things I have on my list that I'd like her to do, but it involves me having to put a process together and a bit of training for her, and that's what's holding us up. And she's jumping at the bit the whole time saying, can you do this, can you do that, can you tell me when I can do this? And I'm like, you're moving far too quickly for me. But it's I think that's why people don't always collaborate or outsource or get other people involved, because it is quite a hurdle to get going in the first place. But once you've done it, it's such a benefit.
And it feels like it takes up extra time. So you have a quick chat with someone on the phone that never turns out being quick, but actually I'll come away. And I have one particular guy who works in a similar setup to me. And whenever we talk on the phone, we end up speaking for far longer than we planned to. And you kind of think, oh no, I've wasted this time. I should have been doing this, that, and the other. But I come off and think, do you know what? I've got so much from that and been so enthused and cleared up certain queries in my mind that actually it's that reminding yourself that you need to sometimes spend time to make yourself more efficient again. So so important.
Absolutely. So what about looking after yourself then? You've got a busy life, although you are living in lovely Torquay, so I'm sure that helps. But how do you keep yourself full of the energy that you need to get everything done?
Yeah, exercise is a hugely important thing for me. And actually, I took part in Red January this year, which I didn't really even think about what Red stood for initially when I signed up for it in December. And I could just see it was all about regular exercise. I then realised it was meant to be run every day, and that's what Red stood for. I don't do running.
A bit of a last minute.
I was a gymnast, so I only ever had to exert a minute and a half of energy at one time, and then the routine was done. So I was a little bit like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Then I realised that lots of people, although a lot of people do use it to run every day, lots of people were just doing whatever exercise. And I made sure, and actually I enjoyed it so much, I kept it going until the end of March and made sure every single day I did some kind of exercise. Now, I'm not super fit or some kind of powerhouse. Some days it would be like a 7-minute workout at home using an app. Sometimes it would just be a 15-minute walk. Other times it would be longer exercise. I do still love doing gymnastics when I get the opportunity, and trampolining and climbing and all sorts of things. So some days it would be more strenuous exercise. Sometimes it would just be something really small, and it reminded me how important that is to my whole well-being. I've always been interested in sport and needed to be physically active, but I've forgotten over the years how important it is. And I have a tendency to not realise when I've dropped my exercise level and stopped doing those little walks every day or whatever it might be, and then suddenly I think, oh, I'm just not feeling myself. And I've actually just done it recently. Last week I said to my husband, I've got to go out exercising, just walking more again. I've somehow cut it down because I thought I was too busy to do it. And it's another thing that I've got to take time out for, because actually it makes me more efficient in the long run. So exercise is the key to my well-being, definitely.
I still haven't quite got that sort of physical reaction to that in my head for such things. I really want to go walking every day because I know it's good for me. I still let everything else get in the way, and I sort of almost haven't got to the stage where when I've done it, it feels so good that I remember that for the next time. So maybe it's think of other ways, other triggers.
It might be finding the right thing for you. Maybe it's not walking, or maybe it's who you walk with, or where you walk, or a different exercise altogether. I think that's the key thing. And I think it changed over time. Years ago, I'd have said, I don't want to go for a walk. That's so dull. I want to do something far more exciting. Whereas now, and often I have a lunchtime walk with a friend who also works from home. And I do have the lovely bonus of being able to walk along at the end of my road, see the sea. So it's beautiful views, lovely company, and I just find it so refreshing and just really helps my day.
Yeah, I think that would really help me if I had a local companion to go walking with. We went for a walk yesterday for 2 hours here in Scotland, which was through woods along the beach, and it was just lovely. But I was with other people, so it was really, an easy thing to do without having to make a big decision about it, and to not feel like I should have been doing something else at the time. But I'm
much better at keeping to having a walk when someone is free to come with me. If it's me on my own, like, oh, maybe I won't, oh, I don't know. So,
yeah, exactly. I have to resort to going up and down the stairs.
Maybe I can hire out my friend as a walker to other freelancers around the country.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to, after the summer when I get back, because I'm pretty much around England in the caravan and Scotland obviously until September. I'm going to take up Nordic walking, because a friend of mine has become a teacher for it. So I've done a bit of help with her for some of her promotion of it and stuff, and said, oh, I'll have to come and have a go. So that's supposed to be really good for you. And of course that would be something where you're, tied in because you've booked to go at a certain time and you don't want to let people down. So that's my plan.
Yeah, that I had a weekly exercise class I was going to, and it was really nice. It was another bonus of being freelance and being able to take time out during the day. And I used to on a Friday morning go and do a Pilates class, and then I got too busy for it again. And it's something that come September I am going to find time again for set exercise, where I've agreed to go and I can't squirm out of it and think, oh, I don't need to do it, and then afterwards regret it.
Yeah Lovely. So what else about that energy thing? We one of the things we talk about is what we do to sort of make sure that we're taking our time for ourselves and relaxing. How do you fit that in around all the busy stuff that you're doing? I mean, obviously, as you've said, exercise is one of the things that you're doing for yourself as well as for your health anyway. What else do you do if you have time?
Well, do you know what? I used to really struggle with this. And when I was asked, what do you do to relax? The only thing I could think of was sleep. And I genuinely was either busy, or asleep. And I'm someone who can sleep at any time. So I could wake up and go back to sleep an hour later. I can sleep in the afternoon. I can sleep any time. But I realised it wasn't really very healthy, because I was either completely switched off or completely active. So it's something over the last few years I've tried to kind of work on a bit more and really try to find things that I can actually be awake but relaxed with. So I tend now I use another app. Actually, I'm going to sneakily get a fourth app in. On my phone, I always have a book on the go, and because it's on my phone, I've always got it with me. So if I get to a meeting early, I will sit in my car and read for a bit. I also have recently returned to the stage, having a few years ago got into amateur dramatics, and then life got a bit too busy. But earlier this year, I returned to a local amateur dramatics company and did a play, and I'm doing another one in October. And I find that incredibly relaxing and revitalising. And it's a time where I can't think about work when I'm acting. So it's just a really good switch over for my brain. As I said before, I play a lot of word games. I do like to be active, and I've got a family who are very active as well. So we love doing sport together, family trips to trampoline parks, places like that. And then probably the other thing I do, I find loads of things to do now to relax. A few years ago, I didn't do anything. Now I've got such a long list. But the other thing is listening to podcasts. I love podcasts. Which is why I was really excited to find yours and start listening to those. I'm also a big fan of How to Fail by Elizabeth Day. And there's a funny little backstory to that, in that my maiden name before I was married was Elizabeth Day. And my mum recently saw a book advertised about How to Fail by Elizabeth Day and sent me a picture of it. And it somehow reduced me to tears, because I had this panic of all these fears I used to have very strongly when I was younger about failing and not wanting to fail. So seeing my name on this book that just mentioned the word fail really, really shook me up. And actually, it was an amazing thing, because it made me think, whoa, what's going on? Do I have unresolved issues here? And really think about it and think, well, actually, you need to embrace this and look at this. So I've been listening to her podcast with various inspiring people talking about how they failed and moved on from it, and how often it's been a positive. And it's been like therapy to me. And I'm suddenly like, no, I'm okay with the whole failure word again. It's okay, I can deal with it. So it was quite funny the way that came to my attention. But yes, that's in my top 3 lists of podcasts to listen to.
That's another good recommend. I'll have to go listen to that. I'm a bit of a podcast junkie, although to be fair, I do find that finding the time to listen to them at times is hard, because I have so many of them on my phone. But that's a great one to recommend. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I got a bit like that, but I was subscribed to too many and had to have a little bit of a clear out. But I love listening to them when I'm driving to places. I'm not much of a radio listener. Don't listen to music very much, so I tend to listen to them when I'm driving.
Yeah, me too. Which is good at the moment in the summer because I have lots of driving to do. Not so good the rest of the time when my commute is down the stairs.
Yes. Yeah, it's not much time to get past the intro, is there?
No, exactly. So, what about other stuff to learn and improve? Obviously, you've just talked about podcasts as being something that you're enjoying, but also helping you to improve what you do. Is there any other? Oh, and you said books, but was that novels or how-to books as well, or business books, or however you would describe them?
Yeah, because I tend to use reading as a switch off. It tends to just be completely fictitious stuff that's just very easy to read. So, no, I'm not. I've always been someone who wants to be able to read lots of kind of books by people who have done all sorts of amazing things and get ideas from them. But I just never can. I kind of read a few pages and think that's interesting and then never pick it up again. So it is more, I use the reading more as relaxation. The way I sort of learn and grow myself is through, well, I'd like to call it my inquisitive nature. I'm sure other people would say that I'm very nosy. And I love being involved in everything. I read lots of little snippets of sort of news articles and social media, and I will investigate things and explore. If someone says something that I think, oh, I don't know about that, I've never heard of it before, I am straight onto Google, finding out about it, looking into it, trying it out. So I am very inquisitive. I also like to kind of listen to lots of different people's ideas and suggestions and then take on little bits from each and to use in my own style. I'm not a fan of following one specific guru or approach or book to say that this is the way you have to do everything, because I so strongly believe that everyone's different and I just can't ever see there can be a one size fits all approach. But I do love getting little bits of tips from different people and then pulling it together and using it in my own style.
So I guess that's a learning opportunity and also a creating your own content opportunity. So it's a double whammy. Lovely. Yeah. So what about those days where it all goes horribly wrong? What do you do then?
I was wondering about how honest to be about this particular question.
Very honest, of course.
I am always probably too honest, but I'm always very honest. And so in my normal honest nature, my natural reaction if I'm having a bad day is probably to cry and revert back to thinking of failure and, oh, why am I so useless? I am improving, thankfully. At 42 years of age, it's about time I can, deal with things a little bit not quite how I'd planned. And again, I revert now to exercise a lot. So if things are not going on track, and it's funny because I'm someone who can adapt a lot. I do a lot of, quick, got to change to doing this, got to change to doing that. That's fine. That doesn't faze me. But if I feel like something's gone wrong, the alarm bells go off in my head. So whereas in the past, especially with working from home, I probably would have taken to my bed, cried and slept, and then thought, quick, I've got to get all my work done. Whereas now I am better at thinking, okay, I just need to go for a quick walk, clear my head, come back and get back on track. And generally that works. If that doesn't work, then usually my sister gets a call and she puts me back on track. The bonus of having a big sister who's very caring.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm not sure anyone's said that actually. Thinking back, normally it's tomorrow's another day, or as you say, exercise or whatever. I'm not sure anyone has said phone a friend, but it's definitely something that's helpful at times, depending on who that person is, I guess.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what about those days where you live more? So that's where you get to do more of the things that you want to do and less of the things that you feel you should do or you have to do. What do they look like?
I think for me, those days are when I've had a really well balanced day. And for me, the kind of key priorities would be to have had time with family and friends, some exercise, and to have achieved some rewarding work that I feel like, yes, I've done something today in my work, I've achieved something. And I think the combination of those three things together makes me feel very happy at the end of the day and feel like, yeah, this is what it's all about. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And sort of broad enough to sort of plan those to happen most days, or that to happen most days really as well. You know, it's when we talk about living more, you know, it's sort of what can we do to enable us to have more of those days where we feel like we are living more, and, you know, less of the days where we're doing stuff we don't really want to do. So do you think about those things? I mean, obviously I asked the question, and, you know, it's something to prepare and come along and share, but do you think about that, and do you try and shape those days with those three things in mind?
Yeah, I do actually. I know how important all three of those things are, and it is something that I will consciously think, hang on, I haven't got time for this bit in my day to day, or I need to actually make sure that I put down that work at a certain time and go and do something with the family. So yeah, I am quite conscious that those three things are really important to me. It's one of the reasons why I choose to work in the way I work. So I remind myself of the importance of those.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. It's been really good interviewing you, Liz, and so pleased to be interviewing somebody who's an avid listener of the podcast as well. Do you think you'll listen to your own version, your own show?
Oh, I don't know, actually. That's a good question. That's different, isn't it? Listening to yourself. Actually, yes, maybe it'll be another part of my kind of self-therapy to listen to myself.
Oh, yes, yeah. I was doing some work on my new membership site today, and I was doing a section about self-awareness, and one of the actions was about either watching yourself on a video or sort of interviewing people and asking them to give feedback on you. And I guess this counts as well, listening to yourself on an audio, as you say, sort of creates that self-awareness. So it can all be positive support and help for the future.
Yeah, actually I'm about to record a few videos for a client, so this would be a good step in between, really. If I can hear myself, then I'll be able to watch myself at a later date. So yeah, I will embrace that. I will take it on as a challenge.
Excellent. So great to have provided a service to you as well as got you to come on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. So tell people how they can connect with you and find out more about what you do, Liz.
Yeah, the best ways to connect with me are through LinkedIn and Twitter. I do use Twitter mostly for education and dyslexia related work rather than my comm side of things. And can also connect with me through Instagram if you are somebody who likes motivational quotes. If you don't and you find them really cheesy, don't go near my Instagram, because that's what it's full of. And I know some people hate motivational quotes, and I used to share them quite a lot on Facebook, like with my personal contacts there, and then realised that some people just found it so irritating. So I've gone over to that's what my Instagram page is now dedicated to, is motivational quotes. So if people follow me, they know what they're signing up for.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, that reminds me, when I put them on Facebook, there's a friend of mine who always feels the need to sort of unpick what I've said, you know, as in, is that true, really true, or yes, but sometimes this is this. We end up this really long debate, so I've put less on there as a result, because I can't always justify them.
No, that's really hard, isn't it? That's it. Well, I had a friend who, because I didn't used to use Instagram as much, and as I say, I've gradually gone more towards using it for motivational quotes and now pretty much wholly use it. And a few weeks back, a friend messaged me and said, I've been noticing, your Instagram, is everything okay? And I think she felt because I was putting on these motivational quotes, there was some big moment going on in my life. And I was like, oh, sorry, no, I'm not one to use kind of discreet messaging through social media. I think. No, these are literally just there as motivational quotes, no hidden meaning.
Oh, brilliant, lovely. Well, thanks, Liz. It's been great talking to you today.
Thanks, Jo.
All this information is available in the show notes. You can get to those if you go to powertolivemore.com/ in this case 121. And you'll know from previous podcasts, if you've listened, that I've been away in my caravan for most of the summer. I have the opportunity to do that because most of my work is done online from home. So my home needn't be actually in a house, it can be in my caravan. The solar panel has really helped this year. I've had electric pretty much the whole time I've been away. Internet not quite so reliable, has been a bit patchy at times, but I've managed to record my podcast and hold some online meetings and basically do the work that I usually do from home from the caravan, so it's been great. I just thought I'd reflect a bit on what I have learnt this summer, and I've taken the caravan away on my own before and I've towed before, but I was always particularly aware that there was going to be somebody at the other end to help me to unhitch and get set up, and Simon, my husband's always helped me to get the caravan from the storage at our end as well. But this year I had to do that stuff myself after the initial set off, and I was a bit apprehensive as to how that was all going to work out, but it has been great, and I have learnt a lot and I've got much more confidence in what I've been doing. And I was thinking about the membership site that I've been talking to you about for the last few weeks, and the 4 areas of CALM, so community, accountability, learning and materials, and I was wondering if that sort of connected to the experience I've had this summer, and it sort of does in a way. So the community bit of it is that I had lots of support when I was travelling. So when I first arrived in Scotland, some friends helped me pitch, and then when I went to the Lake District, Grandad Jerry, who is called Grandad by everybody, he's not my granddad, he helped me and sort of took me under his wing for the week, if you like, and then I was sort of pretty much on my own when I got to the New Forest, or rather Southampton and then the New Forest. But those sort of people supporting you along the way, and I actually had somebody in Kirby Stephen when I stopped for a couple of nights on a commercial site who I got chatting with. Turns out he comes and his wife come from Rye, which is quite near to where I live at home, and we got chatting and they ended up joining the camping and caravanning club on my say-so, so that was good, but also I was able to, as I was leaving that site, get him to come and help me take the brake off on the caravan because it was too tight and I couldn't get it off myself. So it was interesting that I'd still got support from random people that I'd only just met. From an accountability point of view, I guess I'd planned to be at those sites and I had to make it happen. I had to be confident in front of Ellie as well. I had to show that sort of accountability to her when we were on our own in Southampton and then setting off to go to the New Forest and pitching on our own as well. So some of that thing about having support from people, but also that slight pressure, if you like, to deliver on what you say you're going to do. Oh, and also the first week I was in Scotland with our French student who had obviously randomly come along, not having been camping before, assuming I knew what I was doing. So I had to give him the impression that I did know what I was doing. And then learning, obviously, I have learnt a lot as I've been towing however many hundreds of miles this summer, and also just the whole thing about setting up and setting down. And I've actually got much better at it than we've ever got together as a couple when I've been camping with Simon, because of my systemization, and I've actually sort of thought through a process which has really simplified things in the caravan. So there's limited things to do, limited junk to cart around with us, and a sort of defined process to pitch and to pack up. And actually I can pack up the caravan and get going now if I'm going somewhere else, so I don't have to sort of completely empty the caravan in less than an hour, and I can pitch and get ready to use the caravan in less than 30 minutes when I get to the other end, and that is not how it used to be. So again, some sort of learnings around simplifying and then using systems to make sure that you're consistently doing the things that you need to do, and things like, you know, switching the fridge to charge on the car rather than getting warm whilst I'm driving along because I forget to do that, or making sure that I've switched the gas off obviously in the first place anyway, and done all those things that need to happen, you know, taken the handbrake off and made sure I've connected everything up properly on the hitch, because obviously that would be a bit dangerous if I hadn't done all that properly. So it's about, as I say, making it simple, but then also having a system that you can repeat. And I almost have like a checklist in my head which I check off as I go around the caravan, making sure I've done all the bits I need to do as I go along, and make sure I don't miss anything out. And the last one about materials, I'm not sure that I can really make that fit. I might be a bit stretching it, but you know, as I say, I have got now a proven process and a sort of checklist, even if it is in my head. So if any of you have caravans, you want to find out how to set up and set up and pack up to move on in the least amount of time and stress, then drop me a line. But anyway, as I say, had a great summer, now back to working from home, working from the office at home, and ready to launch the membership site that I've been talking to you about. I've had some interest in the offer to have beta members, or to do some beta testing as a member. Maybe you don't want to be called beta members. But basically I'm looking for 10 people who are looking to join and try out the site for me, give me feedback, and basically help me to finish shaping it before I open it to everybody else. And obviously the idea is that you join as a beta member at a much lower investment than usual members will be paying, and that will be what you pay for the remainder of your membership. So if you come in as a beta member now and then you stay for the next year or two, you'll still pay what you're going to pay up front each month, regardless of what everyone else is paying. So if it's something that sort of piqued your interest, then give me a shout, joe@joedodds.com. Let's have a chat. I'll tell you a bit more about it, can show you what it is and explain what we're going to be doing with it, and see if you're interested in joining. Firstly, about yourself, about your own development and support as a home-based coach or consultant, but also, as I say, so that you can help me to further shape it as we move forwards. But obviously the focus is on you and the value that you're getting out of it. So it's not a sort of half-rate membership in terms of the value that you get. You get as much value as everyone else, probably more so, because you get access to me right from the beginning, and obviously we can work more closely when there's fewer members in the site, so we'll get to know each other well, and I can help you in the areas that you're looking for help within your business, at the same time as getting feedback from you about the new membership site. So as I say, if you're interested in finding out more, there's no obligation, just send me an email, joe@joedodds.com, and we can have a chat, and then we can just see if it's going to be something that's of use to you, and we can take it from there. And again, the show notes for this week's show are at powertolivemore.com/121, and we look forward to speaking to you next week.
Use your power to live more.